Virtual Summit 2022.
Welcome everyone to our second session, Facilitating the Future Ready Workforce. And welcome everyone to the day 2 of Upstream Ahead, second edition. Well, since there is no one to introduce me, let me introduce myself to all of you. I am Akanksha Tyagi, CEO, Social Friendly. We are a boutique consulting, constantly trying to find new age solutions to new world problems. Well, coming back to our session, friends, dear panelists, as you have thoroughly read the name of the session, you will notice that the word future has been given quite an emphasis. Well, to deliberate further, when we talk about future, or let's say when we think about future, what do we imagine? Or let me put it this way. When you even ask a 10-year-old child, what will a child tell you what he or she thinks about the future? Maybe he or she will say something about flying cars, something about robots, or maybe something about switching on the ceiling fan with the blink of an eye. So basically, what the child is trying to say is artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and robotics. So with a lot of confirmation, we can definitely say that when we talk about the future, technology is the essence of the future. Tech is definitely the core of the future, but what we fail to, a lot of times we fail to understand and fail to interpret that at the core of it all is the human interpretation. Without an apt human response, we can never have a tech-enabled future. Now coming further down to the topic at hand, facilitating a future-ready workforce. When we imagine the future of a workforce, yes, we will definitely talk about upskilling. We will talk about tech leveraging. But at the same time, we imagine such a perceptive workforce that not only can perceive solutions to certain problems, but at the same time, they are so perceptive that they can perceive problems, that they can perceive any or every situation. And with that vision, today, I am very happy to introduce an extremely illustrious panel to all of you. We are extremely grateful to have, as a chair to the panel, Vartika Shukla ma'am, CMD, Engineers India Limited. And with us, a very, very able moderator, Luiz Moniz, to give you a brief introduction about Luiz. He is a CXO career and leadership coach who has worked with hundreds of leaders across sector and job functions since 2010. He brings to bear his senior management experience for over 2 decades and deep understanding of the talent acquisition space gained as a C-suite headhunter for 6 years into coaching engagements. At the same time, he's author of Uncornered Learnings from the Corner Office. He holds an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad and an MS in finance from University of Illinois. Luiz, the floor is open to you. I request you to first introduce our chair and then the panelists. Over to you, Luiz. Luiz, can you kindly unmute yourself?
Thank you. Thank you, Akanksha, and appreciate this opportunity of speaking at this panel discussion and moderating it. I would start with the caveat that I'm not from the sector, but I do understand talent and I do understand workforce, and I'm currently working with some clients on the same topic of being future ready, because it is a huge issue across all sectors. So very, very happy to be here. I will now introduce the panel members. So please bear with me for a minute. So we have Ms. Vartika Shukla as the chair of the session. She is serving as the chairman and managing director of Engineers India Limited, and is also holding the additional charge of director technical and director finance of the company. Ms. Shukla has extensive technical and consulting experience across the entire hydrocarbon value chain. She has spearheaded successful completion of many prestigious projects leading to key refineries and petrochemical complexes, fertilizer plants, both in India and overseas. She has been closely associated with developing in-house competencies and strategizing for new business opportunities, both in the core hydrocarbon sector and in the diversified areas of operations. Uh, Shukla is an active member of various industry forums like FIPI, CII, FICCI, and has served on the editorial board of the FIPI journal. She graduated in chemical engineering from IIT Kanpur and is also certified with an executive general management program qualification from IIM Lucknow. Thank you, Ms. Shukla, for being here. The next person I'd like to introduce is Preet Pal Kahlon. Preet is joined Cairn Oil and Gas, part of Vedanta in 2010, and was appointed the Chief Policy and Regulatory Officer last year, where she is responsible for leading the policy and advocacy functions, as well as works closely with the joint venture partner and with the regulator. Preet brings in 22 years of work experience in the oil and gas industry across procurement and supply chain and policy and advocacy. She has completed her MBA from Kulshrestha University. Welcome, Preet. Uh, then we have Udita Khashu, who has 13 years of experience in HR across industries such as insurance, telecom, KPO, and energy. She's currently at Baker Hughes, where she is the HR business partner for oilfield service in India, completions and well intervention, reservoir technical services, and integrated well services for Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey. Her current role involves providing people-related solutions to solve evolving business challenges in the energy sector, and she's an alumni from XLRI Jamshedpur. We have Ayush Gupta, who is the Chief General Manager of HRD of GAIL India Limited. Ayush has 30 years experience in process and oil and gas industry, encompassing training and HR development, talent acquisition, leadership development, performance management, HRD initiatives, project management, operations, and maintenance. Huge experience. He is the recipient of the prestigious Chevening Rolls-Royce Science, Innovation Policy, and Leadership Fellowship, and he completed his electrical engineering degree from IIT Roorkee. Welcome, Ayush. Then we have Pratiksha Kulshrestha, who's serving as the Senior Manager Law in the Exploration Division of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. She has over 10 years of experience in oil and gas sector and has worked across the hydrocarbon chain on negotiating and drafting of high-value oil and gas contracts, management of complex domestic and international litigations and arbitrations, formulation of law and policy of the oil and gas industry, and the strategic investor-state relationships and center-state relationships. Welcome. We have then Ms. Bansuri Das, who's a Senior Manager, HSE, Corporate Office at OIL. Ms. Das has 11 years of diverse experience in the realm of health, safety and environment, sustainability, climate change, and risk management. And we also have Dr. Mridula Singh. I hope she joined us by now, who's a superintending geophysicist in ONGC Corporation. And she's currently working in the Directorate General of Hydrocarbons. She has completed her doctorate in the field of polymer nanocomposites. Thank you for all of you for being on the panel. And we will now, the format I'd like to use is a very simple format. I will, we have quite a few questions to cover, and we have very illustrious panel here. All of you have got a huge amount of experience, and I'm sure, you'll have got a lot of perspectives. But in the interest of time, and since I think we're also running a little late, we will have a format where I will raise a question. Whoever wants to answer that will please raise their hand, and then I will choose one person and then do a follow-up. Yeah, I hope that's okay. So the first question I would like to ask is, just hold on. So the energy industry's landscape is changing fast, specifically in the backdrop of the growing importance of ESG. How are oil and gas companies preparing their workforce to facilitate energy transition and build sustainable businesses? Who would like to answer that? So we have Preet. Okay, Preet, go ahead.
Luiz, let me, compliment you on a very, very timely question. Right now we are going through a lot of awareness about, energy transition, the journey to net zero. ESG is becoming increasingly important. And how do oil and gas sector, how do the organizations go about preparing the workforce? It's a very timely question. I think first and the most important thing is to formulate and communicate comprehensive ESG goals, and talk about these goals publicly, both internally and externally, and enhance ESG awareness within the organization. Then also sensitizing senior management to consider ESG aspects in decision making, and talk about and think about how ESG can be a differentiator in recruitment. With the current environment, oil and gas companies will have to work very hard to attract talent. With the ESG space, with the ESG aspect in the fray, I think a lot of people would like to work with things like renewable energy, which are the flavor of the future. However, oil and gas continues to be relevant in the near and middle term. And how do we change? How do we change our carbon footprint? Now, from Vedanta's perspective, what I can talk about is Vedanta is planning to be an ESG leader in the natural resources sector, and it has made a public commitment to reduce carbon emission to zero by 2050 or sooner. We as a company have pledged around 5 billion over next 10 years to accelerate the transition to net zero. And we have repurposed our statement. We say Vedanta transforming for good. Now, as one of the initiatives which is being done to raise ESG awareness, McKinsey has started a series of workshops for senior leadership. And it is expected that we'll be percolating this down as e-learning modules to the rest of the Vedanta team members. Vedanta has also signed a pact with TERI to accelerate ESG goals. And we are communicating again and again internally about how we are working towards transforming communities, transforming the planet, and transforming the workplace. We aim to have, make responsible business decisions around community welfare. So the senior management is being sensitized and ESG aspect is being discussed whenever we are making decisions. We are talking about empowering around 2.5 million families with enhanced skill set. And we are committed to Project Nanta, through which we are uplifting around 100 million women and children through education, nutrition, healthcare, and welfare. We are also working to transform the planet by reduction carbon emission by 25% by 2030 and net carbon neutrality by 2050. We are making innovations for greener business model. We are working on achieving net water positivity by 2030, so that we give back or replenish whatever fresh water that we are taking out from communities. We are very, very sensitive of the fact that some of the areas in which we are operating, like areas like Barmer, there's a lot of there's a lot of water scarcity. So how do we as an organization ensure there's a net water positivity? In terms of workplace, we are working towards prioritizing safety and health of all employees. We are trying to promote gender parity, diversity, and inclusivity, and we are trying to adhere to global business standards of corporate governance. So we are trying to walk the talk by incorporating all these aspects into our business decisions.
Understand. So I think if we can focus this panel discussion more on the workforce related things, because I'm sure all the companies are doing huge amount of work, right? So maybe we can get Bansuri raised a hand, I think, before Mridula did. So we'll get Bansuri to respond, and then we'll give her the next chance. Yeah, the next question. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for that wonderful introduction. And I would just like to, add to what Ms. Preet said, that yes, the company needs to give and, percolate, first of all, set a target, set a goal, a clear vision, and then percolate that down the line. But, ever since our honorable minister has given a target that India will become net zero by 2070, there is a spotlight on the future of oil and gas and the energy transition. So percolating that into the company, and focusing on what can we do next is the focus right now. And obviously there are a lot of initiatives been taken, but the key here what remains is that workforce should always be upskilled and be reskilled. That is, I think the focus should be on that, because in oil what is happening is that at junior management level we are being given a lot of cross-functional roles, and the opportunities to work into various fields, so that by the time we come to the middle management level or the top management level, we have the innovative thinking, we have the capability, we have the thorough understanding to evolve with the changing environment and bring in those innovations and execute them. So I think the key for this fast changing pace of energy transition is to encourage your own workforce to be reskilled and be upskilled. That is what I think that should be the focus. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My understanding, and I'm just sharing, across from different industries, is that it's not just about job rotation and the reskilling, because the way I'm seeing it in many other industries is that a lot of people, to use a very harsh term, are all going to become dinosaurs.
Okay.
And there's a complete new breed of people will have to come in. All of us in this room perhaps are all dinosaurs. Okay. So that's the reality, and so it's a wonderful segue to the next question that I have, which is, I'm going to go to the third question, actually, instead of the second one, which is, how will the technology disruption impacting the existing employees, will technology impact the existing employees in the sector? What do you envisage will be the extent of reskilling needed across field and office technical, non-technical roles? Who would like to take that question? Ayush?
Yeah.
I don't know, you have your hand up this time, the previous question. Yeah, please go ahead.
But I'm happy to take up this question as well.
Sure.
So I'll like to take it in continuity with the earlier question when we were talking of how to make the workforce future ready. And specifically when we are talking of the technological upgradations and the technological challenges being faced by the workforce, one of the biggest challenges before any organization will be with respect to all the newer people or the younger generation who are coming and joining the organization are equipped with the latest technological upgradations and the knowledge. But 50 to 60 or rather 70% of the workforce still remains who are from the older generation and who have not been so much exposed to the new technological developments or the concept of AI or robotics. So they still face challenges in coping up with those kind of getting their hand at those skills. So how to have a fair mix of these two, that we can train or make the people who are already there in the organization to comfortable to work with the new technological skills, and as well as merge them or with the younger generation who are faster, more akin to digitalization, digital techniques, and whose aspirations and whose way of working is much faster than the existing generation. So that is something which the organization have to work fast, because may take time to effect a new change.
I think
the demands are much faster in the industry. The changes are happening at a much faster pace than it used to happen earlier. So that is where we'll have to work on a digital strategy for each of the organization when we are able to focus on the overall development of
Sure. If I had to ask you, Ayush, for two specific suggestions that you think that need to get done.
Hello.
Yes, are you with me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, you're
Okay, I
audible.
think then
Yes.
Ayush is Ayush. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, so Ayush, two specific suggestions you can give us very quickly.
I'm not able to get you clearly.
Okay,
There's
so
some-
then maybe we can ask Mridula to also add her perspectives and give specific suggestions on the reskilling that needs to get done.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, and good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Yes, I think with digitalization, a lot of new things will happen, like automation will be there, and then all the things will be done in terms of digitized data. So data becomes very central. And there's, of course, the question of data security, accountability, confidentiality of data. So our government will also have to upgrade on a like digital platform. So I think when data security comes into picture, then the crimes and cyber threats will also be of like international stature. So these crimes will be like maybe they will surpass the national boundaries. So I think countries should also will have to come and work together on working out some international sort of mechanism to check such kind of things. So this is one thing that they will have to like the to just work out. They will have to like come together on such matters, and robust solutions will have to be taken care of. So
Mridula, in terms of workforce reskilling, what is required?
for workforce reskilling, I think they will have to start with educating. So trainings can be there, and I think for the ENP sector, the sector itself is very specialized kind of. So the knowledge which is required is very like drilling, geosciences, and all those things. But with the development and emergence of new kind of technology, they will also have to be like adept in these skills. So the sector can do this thing that they will have to like upgrade, start up, brushing their employees on these fronts also. So for this, they will have to give them trainings. Or I think already, like if I can talk about ONGC, they have started doing such. So such kind of trainings are like already in place, and modules are being launched. So people who are interested in this, they are like already securing trainings for such things. So I think that is the way.
Okay, is it enough?
Uh, it is the starting only, I think. It's just the
Okay.
starting. I think it's a long way to go because the dimensions are, it's a multi-dimensional thing,
Sure.
the thing like IoT, artificial intelligence, they will have huge implications. So to be ready to deal with the threats which will emerge with these will have to like deeper issues have to be looked into.
Sure.
So
Sure.
yes, it's just a starting, I can say. It's just a starting. More has to be done.
We go to the next question. It's actually very interesting flow. It's going well so far. So, what do you think will be the new types of roles needed in the future? And what needs to be done by the ENP sector to be able to attract such talent? Since there's very fierce competition for talent in the emerging areas like data science, AI, ML, robotics, etc. So, what are the new types of roles and what needs to be done to attract talent? Anybody take a chance? Mridula, you have your hand again, or this is from the previous question?
I would like to just say a few things, and others may also add. I think with digitalization, most of the like it will be there will be kind of automation. So a lot of routine jobs they will be there. Okay, they will be like eliminating those kind of things. So people will get more time to do more strategic planning, research kind of thing. So I think from these manual kind of things, the job nature would be shifting to more kind of supervisory, more into research. So that is so there is one thing that job it may also lead to job destruction. So that has to be taken care of. And then if the work is being done by robots and machines, then of course it will also affect the remuneration of employees, I think, because now the same work will be done by robots and they don't need that payment or remuneration. So I think then there may be issues regarding remuneration. Maybe the wages will go down. So such kind of social issues will erupt.
So I'm actually looking, the question was more about what new roles will emerge.
So the roles will be like more of a supervisory nature, more of monitoring nature, because once we
Okay.
are like eliminating these kind of things of routine jobs, like if I say for DGH, recently we have launched many portals in our office. So all the office, like previously we used to move files for everything. Now everything is being done like online. So people are getting more time to participate in discussions, do more of like research work, do more of strategic planning, work more on policies. So that
I
is the
understand.
shift. Yeah.
Preet, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, adding on to what Mridula has said, I think there would be more jobs created towards the higher end. There would be around, big data, analytics, digitization. So routine work would be starting, automated, outsourced, and then there would be, and whatever are the inputs coming out of these automation, you'll need to analyze that and feed that back. And so there would be more job on analytics and all. Higher end skill jobs would be created more. There would be destruction of jobs at the lower end of the spectrum and more creation at a higher complex end. There would be more managerial things. There would be more, the jobs which are created where multiple skill sets are coming into play for decision making.
So anybody else would like to say, how would you attract such talent in the sector? Pratiksha?
I want to talk about a couple of things as Preet ma'am was explaining that there would be more of jobs in the higher end and more highly specialized jobs. We've talked about how AI, ML, and a changing scenario in which oil and gas is functioning would lead to highly specialized nature of jobs. We would need data scientists. We would need people who are geologists and also trained in AI and ML. We would also need, I'm a lawyer, so from that perspective, we would need a new generation of lawyers who are trained in issues like data privacy, in in technology laws, which are not traditional. In oil and gas sector specifically, in the backdrop of a lot of focus on renewable energy projects and how they are changing the investment dynamics, that has resulted in a new generation of litigations and arbitrations under bilateral investment treaties. And there aren't presently a lot of lawyers who are trained in this. So we will see more hiring from very, very specialized institutes and with very, very special skills. So we will see something like MBAs in energy management, with law being one of the most sought after employees in the legal sector. Similarly, in the geology sector, as I was saying, we would want more of people coming from backgrounds where they have a technology degree along with some experience of petroleum engineering or geology. So most companies will have to build a very clear roadmap of what are the kind of specializations that are very, very crucial to their processes and focus their hiring on that. And obviously, the pay packages and the kind of flexibility in work hours that can be provided. These are some of the things that HR practices and people in HR practices would have to evolve policies with it.
So that's one of my follow-up questions later. But just going into another different perspective, that all these new types of roles, and that was very, very interesting what you just outlined, Pratiksha. What is the opportunity there for bringing in diversity, inclusion, not just gender? It could be a whole lot of other stuff. Yes, Udita, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Luiz. Good morning, all the fellow panelists and all the guests. I think what is very important is that, yes, this disruption will bring an opportunity to bring more diverse talent. And with diversity, I mean all age groups. I don't just want to refer to women here. So I mean a younger generation and women, of course. But before we talk about, what PSUs or private companies should do to attract and retain such talent, let's first understand the current situation. So as per statistics, women make up to 22% of the workforce in oil and gas industry. And this number has been unchanged since the last 2 to 3 years. Since 2017, it has been here. So, and of course, we were going through COVID and other challenges. So despite the strong evidence that diverse and inclusive workforce makes a company more profitable, the report found that women representation is very low. And in fact, in oilfield services specifically, it's only 4%. It is slightly better in upstream exploration, in upstream exploration at about 15%, and even better about 40% when it comes to corporate functions. So these numbers tell us that we need to bring about a change. And unfortunately, what is happening is that too many companies, most companies are failing to turn their diversity agenda or commitments into action. So we all have a presentation which says ABC, and we have a very beautiful agenda, but are we really actioning it? That's the challenge. So I'll talk about a few initiatives, very basic things that PSUs and private companies can take in order to attract and retain diverse talent and a younger workforce. And I'll start with introduction of contingent workers. And when we introduce contingent workers, it ensures flexibility. With flexibility comes the opportunity to hire more women, hire millennials, and hire Generation Y, because as the nature of the workforce, as the nature of job evolves, so will the workforce, right? We will have to hire and tap into newer, younger talent, and the younger generation needs more flexibility. If I tell a college, a fresh graduate, please report to office sharp at 8, and then you will have to work until 6 p.m. He or she may not like it, because oil and gas is not no longer a very attractive space for the younger generation, to be honest. Because, we have these cooler IT tech companies who have flexible working hours, and it's very attractive for them to get a job in a different industry. So I think contingent workers being flexible will really help when it comes to younger generation, and also with women, young mothers returning back to work, women on their maternity leaves trying to get back to work. So that will really help. That's point one. Second would be focus on maternity and paternity leaves. Now, most companies will have to, of course, follow the law, and there's a maternity leave that we have. Maternity leave is as per about 6 months as per the law of the land, and paternity leave, depending on what the company wants to offer, some companies offer between, 3 days to 7 days, but I think it's time for a change where paternity leave, increases to a month or so, or depending on how much the company can really offer, but an increase in the paternity leave, because that's going to reduce the burden from women so that they can focus on their professional life. And this aspect of increasing paternity leave is very common in non-oil and gas sectors. This is becoming a practice where men are taking longer paternity leaves. We would hear in news with Twitter and Facebook, their founders taking longer paternity leaves, because that sort of sends a very strong message to the employees that childcare isn't just for women, it's for men as well. Moving on, very important point around anti-harassment and anti-sexual harassment policies. Women need to feel safe at workplace, and not just women, younger generation, even men. Everybody deserves to feel safe at workplace. So having those policies in place, not just on paper, but 100% implementation becomes very important.
Is it linked to the technology disruption question, or is it a broader issue?
Luiz, I'm talking about having an inclusive workforce, because
Understand.
Unless the younger generation of women feel safe, it's very hard for them. Yeah. It's very hard for a company to even attract talent.
Absolutely.
And I want to focus on one aspect, and this is, I'm talking from my personal conversations that I've had with my female engineers, right, in oil field services, women who go to the field, And so we had gone to a female all-women's college, very good engineering college, and I was very happy to see the talent there. We hired about 5 to 6 females, and we were trying to, of course, work on our diversity agenda, where we were successful in hiring women. And once you've hired them, you're supposed to retain them. And she had resigned, and I had a chat with her, and first she said career growth, this, that. And when I actually spoke to her, she said, there is no proper washroom in the field. I don't know where to go. The washroom is shared. And what do I say? I was taken aback. What do I say to something like that? So having proper washrooms, basic amenities are missing in the oil field. And that is something that is very critical if we want to really attract the future of workforce, because these are basics. These are basics I'm talking about. So let's ensure that we have basic amenities in the oil field. And yeah. So, I mean, companies will have to start actioning their D&I agenda when it comes to younger generation that is tech savvy, and if they want to increase their women footprint. And that's when we'll be able to, really hire and retain younger workforce and women.
Sure. Bansuri, you want to add anything on that in terms of the opportunities for diversity and youth and, contingent workers, etc.?
So I absolutely agree with what all Udita said, but I just wanted to bring in a new dimension. Since I come from a sustainability background, nowadays, because of the consciousness which has come up because about the climate change and its impact, a lot of younger generation would not come to an oil and gas industry thinking that they would be adding to climate change. So that also as an oil and gas industry, we need to change the image of the industry, that we are diversifying into other cleaner fuel forays and foraying into that, because that would actually have a ripple effect and attract millennial or Gen Z or Gen Ys to industry which is wherein they think they are contributing to a more cleaner future. So this is what a new perspective I wanted to bring in.
That's a very good point. Yes, and companies are actually now making that change, right? For Baker Hughes, recently, about 2 years or 1 year back, we changed our logo. Our logo is green. And, green visually just gives us an image of something that is very environment friendly. So I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So the next question actually is a nice, continuation of what we were talking about right just now, is what would be the key areas that need to be identified and worked upon to protect the workforce from any negative impact of technology disruption? Who would like to answer that? Anybody? Ayush?
Yeah. So with the changing landscape of technological description, some of the key focus areas which companies would need to work upon to ensure that the workforce remains engaged and they remain with the company, we are able to not only retain the existing talent, but also attract the younger generation towards these kind of jobs, including when we talk of diversity, attracting females also. And this also comes in the landscape of where softer options of IT and AI and those fields are available to the people, and they are more attracted towards those kind of jobs rather than coming to the oil and gas sector. So one thing which companies will need to work upon is in terms of their HR policies, in terms of hiring, recruitment, rather than looking for a long-term jobs landscapes or job contracts. Maybe more flexible contracts will have to be worked upon. As an earlier speaker also said, we'll have to bring in flexibility. Maybe short-term assignments or specialized assignments, term assignments will have to be seen, where those skills can be utilized and people can have flexibility to come and go. Also, in terms of ensuring that gender diversity or making the people come back to the job. Because many a times what we have seen is people, because of greener pastures or their perceptions, leave the job, but at a later date, they realize that they were better off in the, say, oil and gas sector only, and they come back and express to join back. So, but the company policies at times, especially in the government or public sector, does not really allow that. So we'll have to look upon these opportunities also. If that a person has left and 2 years later or 3 years later or sometime back he wants to join back, how do we incorporate those things?
Understand.
And another one important aspect is to how to match the aspirations of the younger generation, how to provide them a more comfortable environment, not just related to the basic amenities, but also the expectations in terms of the office environment or the flexibilities of having the work from home culture, or the flexibility in timing of coming to the office. So all these flexibilities will have to be incorporated more in the work contracts to attract and retain the talent in the times to come.
So is your organization doing any of that at the moment, Ayush?
In terms of the flexible timing and the rule policies, it's not, but definitely in terms of we are exploring the opportunities for the fixed term employments, we are working on that. We are also working on looking for more roles in terms of the outsourcing rather than going for regular full-time assignments. The short-term assignments also is some of the things which we are exploring, but yet to introduce the short-term assignment kind of a thing.
Okay. Akanksha, how are we doing for time? How much time do we have totally? I don't know.
Well, it's 11:26 now, so I think
we need to wrap up by what
take
time?
Another 15 minutes.
15 minutes, and that would include the closing remarks as well, right? Or
no. Then post that we will take some closing remarks because we started late. I think we have.
Yes, understand. Okay. So just wanted to be clear on that. Okay. So we can do another couple of questions. That's great. Yeah. So. Give me a second. So this is a very different question, but very, very important question. Is that, there's a lot of stress, anxiety that, all the employees will go through because of the technology disruption happening. So what do companies in the sector need to do to support their employees' psychological and emotional well-being? Just to cope with all the stress and is it being done, and what needs to be done? Anybody? Mridula?
I think with this disruption of technologies, people, when they're choosing to work from remote locations and they're working in silos, I think with time, this feeling of belongingness, they start losing. So I think companies should try to at least organize some physical meets. Like if I quote an example in our organization also, like after the foundation day was not being celebrated after COVID. So this was the first time, yesterday only it was celebrated. And people, they felt so nice to meet each other because most of the meetings, they were happening online in hybrid mode or maybe online. So I think this culture of meeting, that also works as a stress buster where people actually meet over a coffee or something and they, just ask about their well-being. So that physical thing, that physical interaction is also important. Although we are moving towards this thing and it's for our ease only. But I think once in a while there should be, there can be like town hall sessions where people, they raise their queries, or maybe if they have some problem, they can raise those. So these kind of discussions and maybe some quizzes can be organized, which used to happen previously. I think this culture should be like more of such things should happen.
Okay. Pratiksha, what are your views in terms of wellness and those sort of programs that need to be brought in? Pratiksha, I think maybe you're on mute.
I have 3 core points in this regard to make. One is most companies do have a policy where medical evaluation continuously is one of the prerequisites for next progressions. But the similar kind of any sort of mandatory psychological evaluation or psychological help is not considered a part and parcel of what we are seeing currently. So extending that kind of programs would be highly beneficial for officers because a lot of times psychological issues are so deep-seated that people who suffer them are also not aware that they exist. It's the same thing as any other physical medical problem that other people may have. When we do acknowledge that before they become or escalate to a greater level, we should be providing the same kind of assistance. From a company perspective, BPCL did something really amazing recently. In the backdrop of COVID, where a lot of people the end of their finances and business, they started providing psychological counseling as part and parcel of our medical services that are offered by the company. So I feel that these kind of initiatives should be promoted across the entire sector. Number two, there are insecurities which are simply created by adoption of technology. They relate all the way from job insecurity to having social anxiety of what the other person would think or how I would be evaluated. There are concerns about algorithmic evaluation of people's work profiles. So how do we address and build an environment of trust? That is the second area of where most of the people practices in the companies need to focus. So having institutionalized mechanisms for proper mentorship, which will help people at all stages to find purpose in the company that they are working for, is a very important area. Plus, finding career guidance is also very, very important. And I feel mentorship is a very good way. I understand that Reliance has a specialized mentorship program for women, and which is run by women. So that helps build a chain of leadership and providing a sense of security and comfort to the people who are working there, and a sense of belongingness as well. The third thing is having making sure that your people practices are not too dominated completely by, say, automation, particularly when it comes to assessing people and evaluating people. So these kind of technologies we should probably steer away from. They anyway do not make much sense in oil and gas, E&P sector in particular. They may make sense in logistics where for example, you are being assessed on how much time you are taking in taking a parcel from point A to point B. Oil and gas E&P industry is hyper specialized. It's opinion based. So there should be a tendency to move away from technologies that simply reduce people to numbers.
Sure. Ayush, anything to add on the wellness and those sort of programs?
Yeah. So there are two things which I wanted to add. One is in terms of a broader thing that apart from the physical and mental health, the companies also need to now work on emotional health. A lot of experience when we are looking at the younger generation or the people joining the company, there are a lot of cases when they are not just able to manage their personal and professional life. At their personal lives also, they are going through many conflicts of the differences, which is bringing an effect on their professional life. So they are not able to manage. So how to manage those things, it's related to the mental health also, but more of an emotional stress building coping mechanism is something which I feel we need to work upon. And it has to go beyond the traditional training programs or the wellness aware sessions or stress management sessions.
Absolutely.
It has to be a more comprehensive programs because the organization has to work more like a family rather than being a commercial organization, to bringing that comfort among the employees of sharing their concerns. Because at the family level, the families are growing nuclear. And then the people, if they are coming to workplace and there also they are not finding able a friend or a colleague where they can share their concerns, whether personal or official, is resulting into the increased stress level at the workplace. So this is something which I strongly feel that we as an organizations need to focus upon and work upon.
So I'm sure, a lot of companies in your sector have empaneled doctors for, medical needs, for illness and whatever. Do organizations have empaneled psychologists and psychiatrists?
In my experience, very few organizations are doing it, and including our own organization. Because
the stress is rampant, so it could be easily, I'm just putting a number down, but it could be 10% of the workforce. And
not very good example, but when I see the generation today, there are so many number of employees who are going through divorce cases and all those things, which really become difficult for them to manage.
So the divorce is not necessarily linked to this, but but I'm just saying that the disruption, just to have the ability to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, that is an opportunity
that I think would need to be brought in by most organizations as I see it. Okay. So we go to the next question.
Just a point. Well, another thing which I was trying to make earlier was that the technological bombardment also is somewhere creating a problem, because not many people are comfortable with all the new technologies coming. Without proper training and hand-holding, when new technologies are being introduced, somewhere that also is creating a problem. Hello.
Luiz, are you with us? I guess we have a brief disconnection from Luis's part. Well, continuing on the question, would somebody like to add a few words or two till the time we have Luiz join in? Pratiksha, would you like to say something? You were raising your hand.
I do agree with Ayush for saying that a rampant or a very quick successive implementation and adoption of technology could also be too much to handle for people and be a cause for stress and anxiety. But one of the ways in which we can assure people and help them accept technology is by upskilling and providing them with awareness sessions where they are explained what the technology is. It is not really a threat, how it would benefit all people engaged. So, for example, from an officer end, management would be easier of certain things. From a consumer perspective, it would increase the ease of operating with the business. For example, let's take the example of BPCL, where we have made one particular chatbot on which all businesses could interact with all consumers. So a person need not run from office to office. This could, since it is a 24/7 on system, it could be taken as a stressful situation, but there could also be put in place different systems to make it a little bit easier on the person or on the operation side to handle such issues. And yes, for this, a lot of policies have to be developed by companies and practices have to be changed. Third is a cultural orientation has to come where people have to realize that all work profiles must be evaluated based on the results that are being born, not on the amount of time and when and what is being done exactly. So these are certain.
Pratiksha, thank you. Sorry, I'm interrupting you in between. Actually, our chair of the session has been waiting for quite some time. She has some prior engagement. Sorry to keep you waiting, ma'am. We would like to hear some words from you. Please enlighten us.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got bounced off also. So please go ahead, Akanksha. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Akanksha. And I hope I'm audible to all.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
right,
you are.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
So great. It's been absolutely delightful to be here with all of the esteemed panelists. And Luiz has been really great in moderating this wonderful session, which is definitely the need of the hour, not just in the upstream sector, but in all sectors as we speak. Being future ready in the world of today, to have a workforce which is always one up with the competition in a dynamic market is actually the need of any organization. And all the panelists, Preet, who has a wide experience of procurement, Udita and Ayush ji, who are HR experts, Pratiksha, a lawyer, Bansuri, who handles HSC and very well put forth her diversity views, and Mridula, geophysicist and excellence in technical domain. Actually, they have done a wonderful job putting each and every perspective of the talent required for the future. What I would say is that if we need to have accelerate the pace of growth, we have to manage the disruptive trends which are globally there. We need to also focus on the future, organizational objective of decarbonization with bringing down the carbon emissions, bringing down global warming for the world at large. Coupled with that, we also have to bring sustainable, profitable growth for the organization. And in doing so, each of us who are, a part and parcel of this process, this journey of growth, have to also contribute both effectively and also in a professional and personal satisfaction. I think if that is made possible, the growth of the organization, the growth of the individual, and the bringing of new technologies could be a whole lot easier. There are several challenges ahead. The challenge with Preet initiated the discussion and the answering of the initial questions on ESG was foremost in the sense how to bring about awareness in each and every employee, in each and every stakeholder. That's very important. Unless you're aware, you're not connected with the changes and you do not kind of buy in. So there has to be a buy-in of each and every stakeholder in the organization and connected to the organization to focus on ESG. Work, as she very rightly mentioned, in a collaborative manner, including each and everyone, inclusive of even the community, having both top-down and bottom-up approaches. I think that is very, very important as we move forward. Looking at the other discussions where Bansuri and Ayush mentioned a lot of need for reskilling, for upskilling of the workforces, bringing in the millennials, bringing in the talent of today and tomorrow, and also in a more amenable, in a more unique or let's say innovative manner, bringing up the skills of people who might be becoming extinct, as Luiz mentioned, dinosaurs like us. So it is important that how we do not turn into dinosaurs and we continue to be relevant, continue to be impact creating in the world of tomorrow. In all this, as has been so nicely also mentioned by Akanksha, Udita, and Mridula also, that how to create creativity, how to create an ambience for the individual employee within the organization, to give enough freedom, to give enough space, and also bring up their own talents with which they have joined the organization, so that their own journey in terms of acquiring knowledge, whether it is in procurement, whether it is in law, whether it is in the technical field, whether it is in HR management, in each of these areas, these are all equally important and equally contributory to actually integrate the bits and pieces of the puzzle for growth. Receptiveness of the organization itself to this need is very important, and that's where leadership comes in. Is the leadership receptive to the need of change for the people of the organization? The aspects which were brought in terms of HR policies, in terms of psychologists, in terms of psychiatrists, in terms of making sure that the emotional, mental health with adequate counseling, and EIL has done bits and pieces in this for some of our workforces very lately, how we integrate these soft parts of people into bringing up the the skills of the people for tomorrow. How very nicely put was how to create the image of the oil and gas sector as green. I think that was a most wonderful point brought out, how to create the image itself to attract talent. And all in all, I would sum it, that is, it is how to create, a kind of an excitement, stimulate the young mind, stimulate that excitement so that the leadership can actually percolate down in the organization this thought process and involve each and every one in that growth story. Specifically, when we look at being a future-ready workforce, and that was also brought out, most of the oil field companies that are there, most of the OFS players need to adopt a lot of technology. There's a plethora of technology, as is already mentioned, in terms of digital, looking at remote operations, integrating this data, using big data for exploratory purposes, reducing. In fact, BP, for example, is one of the largest deployer of digital platforms to map their offshore and actually cut down their costs in terms of workforce, notwithstanding the other element of reduction of workforce, but then increasing productivity, using their extent fields, using technologies of EOR, mapping them, collecting them, reducing the waste gases, reducing GHG emissions, looking at cloud-based infrastructure, improving drilling efficiencies. These are all interventions within the same asset, how you integrate that asset, how you bring the best out of the asset, both in terms of the hardware as well as the people. Driving success with digital definitely is going to be a game changer for tomorrow. And it needs analytical acumen, it needs creative reasoning, and that's why the creativity, the other element of people are very important in world of tomorrow. Social intelligence, emotional intelligence, resilience for change. Many people succumb to pressure, succumb to stresses, both on deliverables as well as succumb to pressure because they cannot perform. They are inept, they don't have the talent of tomorrow. All these built up with the ability for an individual to learn. So OFS companies, we have to be wise to bring in that balance, and rebalance this paradigm to include these adaptive skills with the fast changing pace of technologies. So I would sum it up also by saying that India is needing self-reliance. India is needing to grow the exploration and the production of oil and gas. We are almost 85%, 87% dependent on oil imports. We are about 55% dependent on gas imports. We want to move from a fossil-based, crude oil-based economy, going to the green economy with gas as the bridging fuel. This is the broader objective, and every policy of the government of India by the Honorable Prime Minister focuses on this. So I think talent, which is facilitating a future-ready workforce for all of the companies, is the backbone towards the success of this. And I thank you thank the organizers for having me on the panel and sharing and summing up this wonderful, very exciting, very, very, a lot of perspective and a lot of clarity in everybody's mind. Every panelist did wonderfully well. And Luiz, of course, with his pointed and very apt question for the panel, has really brought out the best in all the panelists. So thank you, and wish all the participants and all the panelists and the whole industry at large the very best for all success in future. Thank you.